I'm Mrs. Hicks, and we're going to be doing Macbeth, Act 1. All right, everyone, welcome to Macbeth, which is basically the story of what happens when ambition gets out of control. Look at the cover. We have the witches, a blood red background behind them, Macbeth looking like he's already having the worst week of his life. This is a tragedy. So, spoiler alert, it does not end well. There is no happily ever after. So, this is our setting, Scotland. Notice the castle on the coast. The story takes place in a violent political world where power is everything. This isn't peaceful. This is the kind of world where people will do whatever it takes to stay in charge. This page gives us a map and character list. You don't have to memorize all the characters. The important characters are Macbeth, a brave soldier, Banquo, Macbeth's friend, King Duncan, King of Scotland, the witches, supernatural beings who stir up chaos, and Lady Macbeth, Macbeth's wife, and she is absolutely not the calm, supportive type. These are the main characters in the play. So here starts Act 1. We open on a deserted battlefield. And if you take a minute and look at this first picture here, you'll notice the dead bodies down here along the bottom. Look at the tree. It looks like it's dead. 3 objects in the tree. Everything's gray and black. The only color you have is a little bit of hint of red down by the soldiers. The mood is immediately violent and disturbing. This story is not about peace, it's about power. On the next frame, we meet the witches. Right? They ask when they should meet again, and they decide it will be after the battle is finished. They specifically say they are meeting Macbeth. So from the very beginning, Macbeth is targeted by these witches. They name him out. They're going to wait for him. And here, one of the most famous lines in the play is here. Fair is foul and foul is fair. That means good things will look bad, bad things will look good, and nothing can be trusted. Basically, this play is going to be full of deception. Right? So let's pause for a second. The witches just said fair is foul and foul is fair. Basically, they're warning us the story is going to be full of deception. People pretending to be good when they're not, and evil hiding behind a normal face. Honestly, this is real life too. Think about social media. People post perfect pictures, the perfect relationship, the perfect everything. But behind the scenes, things usually aren't what they seem. Think about school. Sometimes the people who act the nicest are the ones who cause the most drama behind the scenes. Right? So this line is basically telling us in this story, appearance cannot be trusted. right? Then we switch scenes here and we shift to King Duncan's camp. And a wounded captain is brought in. Duncan wants to know how the battle went. Scotland is in chaos, right? Duncan is desperate for information here. The captain describes Macbeth's bravery in battle. Macbeth is described as fearless, violent, basically unstoppable. At this point, Macbeth is not a villain. He is Scotland's hero. The captain continues describing Macbeth and Banquo. They fight like animals, like warriors, like unstoppable forces. This shows how respected Macbeth is. He has earned Duncan's trust. Right? Ross arrives here with news. Norway has joined in. They've attacked Scotland. Scotland has been hit from multiple directions, but Macbeth fought bravely and Scotland survived. This is proving Macbeth is essential to Duncan's success. If Macbeth had not been on that battlefield fighting, Norway likely would have taken over and they would have killed the king and taken over the kingdom. So Macbeth is essential to Duncan's success there. Duncan learns that the Thane of Cawdor betrayed Scotland. Duncan is furious and he orders his execution. Right? This is an important part here because betrayal is treated as unforgivable in this world. And the king tells Ross that to give the Thane of Cawdor that title to Macbeth, to go tell Macbeth that the king has given him that for doing so great in the war. Right? We now shift again and get this valley hearth called, kind of out in the middle of nowhere. And Macbeth and Banquo are coming back. Macbeth says, "So foul and fair a day I have not seen." This connects the witches line, right? Fair is foul and foul is fair. It shows Macbeth is entering a world where nothing feels normal. The witches appear again. Banquo notices they look unnatural, almost like they're not human. This is to build suspense and make the supernatural feel real and dangerous. The witches speak to Macbeth. They call him Thane of Glamis, which is his title. They call him Thane of Cawdor. And then they say the big one, Macbeth will be king someday. Macbeth is stunned because that's not something you expect to hear when you're traveling home with your body from war. Right? The witches tell Banquo that he won't be king, but his children will be. This is important because it creates future tension. Macbeth wants the throne, but Banquo's family line is predicted to inherit it. So we're going to pause here because this is huge. Macbeth just got told he's going to be king someday. And let's be real. If someone walked up to you and said, "You're going to be famous someday, you're going to be rich someday, you're going to be the best at basketball, you're going to be the best at cheerleading, you're going to be the best trumpet player," the best chess player, whatever. You're going to be the best at something. You wouldn't just shrug it off and move on with your day. Your brain would replay it over and over. Macbeth hasn't done anything yet. The witches just planted a thought in his mind, and now that thought is stuck. It's like when someone tells you that your crush likes you back. Suddenly, you can't focus on anything else. So Macbeth demands to know what the witches mean. He demands them to explain to him what they mean. But instead of answering, they disappear. Macbeth is frustrated, but also obsessed. This is where his downfall begins. The prophecy is now stuck in his mind. The witches vanish dramatically with lightning. This shows their supernatural power. Macbeth is left shaken, but he's also intrigued. Banquo and Macbeth discuss what just happened. Banquo is kind of skeptical. Macbeth is focused on one thing, the prophecy. Macbeth is already wondering if that prophecy might come true. While they're talking, Ross and Angus arrive with news from King Duncan. They announce Macbeth has been named Thane of Cawdor. This is huge because the witches predicted it and it came true. Macbeth is shocked. The prophecy came true, which makes him believe the witches might also be right about him becoming king. Banquo is cautious, but Macbeth is already thinking about power. This is where Macbeth's brain starts to spiral because the witches weren't just talking nonsense. The prophecy came true. And once something happens that proves a thought might be real, you start believing it more and more. It's like when you think someone is talking about you and then you see your name in a screenshot, or you notice your friend is acting weird and then you see them posting with people they say they don't even like, or you suspect someone likes you and then your friend tells you they heard it from someone else. Once you get proof, your brain starts replaying everything, every conversation, every text, every look, every little detail. That's Macbeth right now. If the witches were right about the Thane of Cawdor, they might be right about the crown too. Macbeth begins processing what just happened. He realizes the witches might actually be telling the truth. And now he's thinking, if I become king, how would it happen? Macbeth tells himself maybe he doesn't have to do anything. Maybe fate will just crown him. But at the same time, his mind starts drifting towards darker thoughts. This is where Macbeth considers violence. Now we go back to King Duncan. Duncan asks if the Thane of Cawdor has been executed. He also says something important because they tell him the Thane was sorry, he begged for his life, and the king basically says, you can't always tell what's in somebody's heart by looking at their face. And that is tragic irony because Duncan is trusting Macbeth and Macbeth is already changing. And now we get this wise advice from Duncan. It's tragic, but wise. He says, you can't always tell what's in someone's heart just by looking at them. And that's true. People can smile in your face while they're planning to betray you. You've probably seen that in friendship, relationships, or even group chats. Someone acts cool in public, but talks behind your back in private. Duncan is saying the truth, but he doesn't realize that he's describing Macbeth. Right? So Macbeth and Banquo enter, and Duncan praises Macbeth and Banquo for their loyalty. Then Duncan does something. He announces that his son, Malcolm, is Prince of Cumberland. When he makes this announcement, what he's saying is Malcolm's in line. He's next in line to be king. Macbeth realizes Malcolm is now an obstacle between him and the crown. Right? This is a huge moment. Macbeth hears Duncan name Malcolm as the next king. And suddenly, Macbeth realizes, wait, the prophecy can't happen unless something changes. When people feel blocked from something they want, they start thinking about shortcuts. Have you ever wanted something so badly and then you watch someone else get it? Like you thought you'd make the team, but you didn't. Or you thought you'd be picked, but someone else was chosen. Or you thought you'd get invited to the party, but you didn't. You thought this boy or girl liked you, but they liked someone else. That jealousy and that frustration, that's exactly what Macbeth is feeling right now. And now we switch and we go, let me see. Oh, forgot. Let me go over Macbeth's thoughts down here. Right? Macbeth reacts privately. He says, stars, hide your fire. He doesn't want anyone to see what he's thinking. Right? Now we shift and we go to Inverness. This is Macbeth's castle. This is where we're going to meet Lady Macbeth. Macbeth basically, when he says, stars, hide your fire, he's saying, don't let anybody know what I'm thinking. So he kind of knows what he's thinking isn't right because he doesn't want anybody else to know. And honestly, this is probably the most relatable Macbeth line in the entire play because everyone has moments when their face says, I'm fine, everything's okay, but their brain is saying, I'm not fine at all. Right? They're wearing that mask, pretending everything's okay, but they're not. So that's what he says, stars, hide your fire. Don't let them see inside me. And I think we've all experienced that. Macbeth is realizing he has thoughts he doesn't want anyone to know about. Lady Macbeth gets the letter about the witches and prophecy. And instead of being scared, she's excited. This isn't what we expect because when we're talking about witches and witchcraft, the supernatural, right, that should be scary. She doesn't get scared, she gets excited. And she thinks Macbeth is too kind and too honorable to take the crown by force. So she starts planning. So we meet Lady Macbeth. She reacts completely different than Macbeth. Macbeth's shocked and he was conflicted. Lady Macbeth reads the prophecy and immediately thinks, okay, how do we make this happen? Have you ever had a friend encourage you to do something you knew was wrong? Skip a class, nobody will notice. Just lie, it's not that serious. Cheat, everybody does it. Post it, who cares? Lady Macbeth is that voice. She's not the voice of reason, She's the voice of temptation. So Lady Macbeth is told King Duncan is coming to their castle tonight. She immediately sees this as the perfect opportunity. Duncan will be under their roof, walking into a trap. Lady Macbeth delivers her famous speech. She calls on dark spirits to remove her kindness and fill her with cruelty. She is basically saying, I don't want guilt, I want power. This speech is one of the creepiest moments in Act One. Lady Macbeth is basically asking to shut off her conscience. And sometimes people really do that. Like if your boyfriend or girlfriend cheats on you, instead of crying about it, you decide, whatever, I don't care anymore. Not because you truly don't care, but because it hurts too much to feel it. Or if your best friend spreads rumors about you and you stop trusting anyone, you start acting cold, like nothing bothers you, because it feels safer to shut down than to get hurt again. Or even if you've been embarrassed, rejected, or bullied, sometimes people start telling themselves, I don't feel anything, because emotions feel like weakness. But the truth is, shutting off emotions doesn't make you strong. It usually just makes you dangerous, because when you stop feeling guilt, you stop caring who you hurt. That's Lady Macbeth. She's trying to turn herself into someone who can do evil things without regret. Then we get the next part. Macbeth comes home. Right? And Lady Macbeth greets him dramatically and calls him greater than both. What she means is Macbeth is already Thane of Glamis, now he's Thane of Cawdor, but Lady Macbeth believes he's going to be greater than both those titles. She thinks he's destined to become king. Basically, she's saying, these titles are nice, but you're meant for something bigger. They embrace, and she immediately reminds him Duncan is coming tonight. Macbeth says Duncan will leave tomorrow. Lady Macbeth responds, he will not leave alive. She tells Macbeth to hide his intentions. She's telling him to look innocent while planning murder. This shows Lady Macbeth is strategic and manipulative. Duncan arrives at the castle. He feels safe and welcome and comfortable. Macbeth watches quietly. Duncan has no idea he is walking into a trap. Macbeth begins his internal debate. He knows killing Duncan will have consequences. Duncan is a good king, and Macbeth is his loyal subject and host. Macbeth knows that it's wrong. Macbeth admits the truth. Duncan has done nothing to deserve death. Macbeth says the only reason he wants the throne is ambition. This is one of the most important moments in the play. Macbeth knows it's evil, but he still wants it. This is the moment Macbeth proves he knows right from wrong. He admits Duncan is a good king. He admits murder is wrong. He admits the only reason he wants the throne is ambition. And we've all had that moment where we wanted to do something, but our conscience was screaming, don't do it. Like you want to cheat on a test because you didn't study and you're desperate. You want to curse out a teacher because you feel disrespected or embarrassed. You want to lie to your parents because you don't want consequences. You want to get revenge on somebody who hurt you. You want to start drama or spread something you know will ruin someone's reputation. You want to snap back at someone online by posting something petty or rude. You want to say something cruel in the moment just to hurt someone back. Macbeth is standing in that exact moment. He knows the right choice, but the wrong choice is tempting. Lady Macbeth enters, and Macbeth tells her, can't do it, not going to do it. Duncan has honored him. Lady Macbeth attacks him emotionally. She questions his masculinity and calls him a coward. She knows exactly what buttons to push, how to manipulate him. Lady Macbeth becomes extremely intense. She says she would rather kill her own child than break a promise. This shows how ruthless she is. She is not thinking morally, she is thinking strategically. She she isn't using logic. She's using pressure and shame. People do this in real life all the time. They pressure others by making them feel like they have something to prove. If you don't vape, you're lame. If you don't fight, you're scared, chicken. If you don't send that picture, you don't trust me. If you don't cheat, you're not smart enough. That's what Lady Macbeth is doing. She's using insecurity as a weapon against Macbeth. Macbeth asks, what happens if they fail? Lady Macbeth responds confidently, they won't fail. She explains the plan. They will drug Duncan's guard, kill Duncan while he sleeps, and blame the guards. Macbeth agrees. And this is the turning point. Macbeth officially commits to murder. Here is the moment Macbeth crosses the line. Once you make a decision like that, you can't undo it. The scary part is most bad choices don't feel huge in the moment. They start small. One lie, one text, one impulsive decision, like sending an angry message and then realizing you can't take it back, posting something on social media and instantly regretting it, saying something cruel in an argument that you wish you could rewind, cheating just once and then getting caught, going along with friends even when you knew it was a bad idea, telling a secret that wasn't yours to tell, making a choice just to impress someone. But those small choices can lead to consequences that last a long time and sometimes even a lifetime. That's Macbeth. He just made the choice that changes everything. So by the end of Act One, Macbeth goes from being Scotland's hero to a man preparing to murder his king. The witches planted the idea, but Lady Macbeth pushes him into action. Act One ends with Macbeth stepping into darkness, and from here, everything begins to fall apart. Here's the question I want you to think about. Did the witches cause Macbeth's downfall, or did they just awaken something that was already inside of him? In other words, did Macbeth choose evil, or was he pushed into it?